Hi everyone and happy World Ocean Day! Welcome to this video in which we are going to talk about dead zones. See this as an opportunity to make your screen time profitable and actually learn something. First, let us introduce ourselves. We are Anna, Evie, Tamara and Nicola, second year biology students and absolute fans of marine biology. We are making this video in order to celebrate World Ocean Day and to raise awareness about a very important issue, dead zones. Dead zones are areas in oceans, seas or lakes where oxygen levels are extremely low. This is called hypoxia. You may know that oxygen is a vital element for the majority of organisms, and if you lack this oxygen, well, you quickly die. This is exactly what happens in dead zones. We chose to talk about this topic because even though today most of us are aware, or maybe in denial, of the complicated situation we're in concerning climate change and different environmental issues, the topic of dead zones is rarely mentioned, while it is at the core of the problems we face today. Dead zones have huge impacts on marine ecosystems, marine biodiversity, and even human health. We will explain later in the video how these zones are formed and how they work and how we can act to prevent this.
So now we are going to try to understand how dead zones are created and how they work. To illustrate what I'm saying, I'm going to do an ocean, the earth, and a river. Some human activities that emit nitrogen and phosphorus, like animal farms and urban factories, can cause hypoxic areas. In fact, the nutrients such as phosphorus and nitrogen that are diluted in water will allow an overgrowth of cyanobacteria, algae, and phytoplanktons. The growth of cyanobacteria is called algal bloom. A cyanobacteria is not an algae, it's a kind of bacteria that do photosynthesis. When this bacteria grow out of control, it prevents oxygen and light from penetrating the water. And this is called a red tide. A red tide means the same as algal bloom. Because of the lack of oxygen, organisms will start to die and will sink to the seafloor. This bacteria will end up being decomposed by other bacteria. Now, even though the oxygen can penetrate the water, it will be almost all used up by decomposition. And because most of marine lives don't live without oxygen, they will die or migrate to another part of the ocean. And this is how dead zones are created. The nitrogen that is emitted by urban factories, for example, will end up in the water because of the water cycle, and at the end, it will be the same. Dead zones will be created.
If you are wondering about the actions you could take to mitigate dead zones, let me shed some light and give you some ideas. Firstly, reducing meat and dairy consumption can have a significant impact on ocean dead zones by decreasing the nutrient load, such as nitrogen and phosphorus, which fuel algae proliferation and contribute to dead zone formation. Indeed, meat and dairy production requires the use of chemical fertilizers to cultivate feed crops such as corn or soybean. These fertilizers also contain nutrients such as nitrogens and phosphorus, which can be leached from fields by rain and end up in waterways, thus fueling algae proliferation. Moreover, intensive livestock farming produces vast amounts of waste, including nutrient-rich excrement such as nitrogen and phosphorus. These wastes are often spread on fields and can then be washed by rain and waterways, eventually ending up in the oceans. By reducing the demand of these crops for animal feed, meat and dairy consumption also indirectly reduces the amount of chemical fertilizers used. Secondly, water conservation is crucial. When water is excessively used at home, it often carries pollutants from domestic activities such as washing, lawn watering, etc. These pollutants include chemicals, oil, detergents, and fertilizers that can be carried by runoff into waterways and ultimately into the oceans. By reducing water consumption at home, we also reduce the amount of pollutant runoff, which can help prevent coastal pollution and dead zone formation. Finally, taking public transportation is important. Public transportation is generally more fuel efficient per passenger than individual vehicles. By choosing public transportation over driving a car individually, we reduce carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gas emissions produced by vehicles, which help mitigate climate change. Climate change, in turn, affects marine ecosystems by altering water temperature, ocean currents, and precipitation patterns, which can influence the distribution of marine species, habitats, and ecological cycles. In conclusion, the three examples are just a glimpse of many ways to take actions. Let's not forget that reversibility is possible and every action counts.
To sum up, dead zone refers to an area within a body of water, usually coastal, where oxygen levels are extremely low, making it impossible to sustain a marine life. These zones are mainly caused by excessive runoff of nutrients, particularly nitrogen and phosphorus, from agricultural and urban sources. This influx of nutrients encourages the rapid growth of algae, which, as it dies and decomposes, depletes the oxygen level in the water. As a result, marine organisms suffocate or free the area, disrupting the ecosystem. To combat this problem, efforts are focusing on reducing nutrient pollution and implementing effective management strategies. Ongoing monitoring and research are essential to understand and reduce the impact of dead zone on marine environment. Several measures can be taken to combat the phenomenon of the dead zone in our ocean. First one, reducing our water consumption can play a significant role on reducing dead zone in the ocean. Every time we use water, a considerable amount of water is used and often ends up in rivers and sewers. The water, when treated, can contain chemicals and nutrients from household and agricultural products. Second one, by opting for public transport such as bus, train or metros, we reduce the number of individual vehicles on the road, which translates into a lower emission of CO2. Fewer pollutants mean fewer contaminants reaching marine ecosystem, helping to preserve the health of the ocean. The last one, we can reducing our meat consumption. We reduce the demand the product from intensive livestock farming. This can mean producing less meat there and therefore needing less of the nutrient required by the plantation that feeds the animal we eat. In short, every little action we take can have a positive impact on the health of the marine ecosystem and help to limit the formation of dead zone in our ocean. Thank you for your listening. I hope you have understood the problem of dead zone and we wish you a good day.